They locked me in the basement on my 67th birthday. I had sold my spacious home, giving them most of the money for their new place, believing I was securing a warm family future. But as I sat in the cold, I realized the family I'd helped build was conspiring to bury me. What they didn't know was that I had a tiny window to their betrayal in my pocket. Before we jump back in, don't forget to subscribe while you're listening, and let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from. Now, take a breath and listen closely. This is my story. They locked me in the basement on my 67th birthday. Most people envision quiet evenings, knitting, and grandchildren's laughter at my age. That was my dream once. Now, I know the brutal reality is often different, especially living with a daughter-in-law who sees you only as a burden. It all started 3 years ago when Arthur, my beloved husband of 42 years, died. His sudden heart attack left me adrift in our spacious home on Willow Lane. Every corner echoed his absence. His worn armchair, the jazz records, tools hung neatly. Arthur was a man of meticulous order. "Trains don't forgive tardiness, Eleanor," he'd say. He was the steady hand. I, the home's heart. After he passed, our vibrant home became my son, Michael, visited weekly, usually Sundays. His visits were short, awkward. He'd never been close to his father, and our relationship felt stuck in his teenage years. That distance, that silent unease, was likely why, one Sunday, I agreed when Michael suggested I sell the house and move in with them. It felt like a lifeline. I'd help with the down payment on their new, larger home, ensuring a room for me. In return, I'd reclaim the family warmth I so desperately feared losing. "You don't want to live alone, Mom," Michael had said, his hand covering mine, a rare gesture. "Besides, Lily will be thrilled." Lily, my sweet granddaughter, 15 now, had once been inseparable. I'd taught her my famous apple pie, spun tales of Arthur and me at a 76 carnival dance. She'd listen, curled at my feet, braiding friendship bracelets. But back then, I didn't truly know Cassandra, Michael's wife. She was outwardly friendly on holidays, her compliments rehearsed, her smile never reaching her eyes. "Eleanor, you look stunning. Eleanor, this casserole is divine." Now I understand. We sold my house quickly. Real estate in Fairview was booming. I gave most of the substantial sum to them for their new place on Oakwood Circle, a grand 2-story house. "Your room's on the first floor, Mum, next to the kitchen," Michael announced, for comfort. The first few months were bearable, almost pleasant. I helped cook. Sometimes picked Lily up from school when Cassandra was at her modest nail salon. Michael, bless him, managed inventory at a window company. "Tedious, but stable," he'd say. The shift began subtly. 6 months in, Cassandra forgot to call me for dinner when guests arrived, or dismissed my clothes. "That sweater makes you look so old." Then came bolder moves. My treasured cookbooks vanished to the garage. Too much space. My porcelain figurines, Arthur's gift, were banished to my closet. They don't fit the new living room. By year's end, I was a ghost in my own home. Michael was always at work or on his phone. Lily retreated to friends or her room. Cassandra became an overseer. "Eleanor, your teacup in the sink again. Don't touch the thermostat. The electric bill is astronomical. Tuesdays and Thursdays are my laundry days." I tried speaking to Michael. He'd just wave it off. "Mum, you're exaggerating. Cassandra likes order. Adjust to the new rules." The rules multiplied. No TV after 9 p.m, no friends over, no cooking beyond sandwiches. My life shrank to my room, a refuge from Cassandra's barbs. I felt like a tolerated guest, not family whose money bought their house. The most painful blow was Lily's growing distance. Cassandra, with chilling precision, warped teenage insecurities. "Your grandmother is so old-fashioned," she whispered one afternoon. "Look how odd her habits are. You don't want to be a prune like her, do you?" After that, Lily's eyes met mine less and less. A chasm grew. My 67th birthday arrived, unacknowledged. I'd hoped for a modest dinner, a card from Lily. But morning passed in silence. Michael mumbled a hurried goodbye. Lily dashed off. Cassandra, in the hall mirror, finished her lipstick. "Eleanor," she called. "We're having guests tonight. Nothing fancy, just friends." I nodded. "It would be nice if you made your apple pie." A flicker of foolish hope bloomed. Maybe they remembered. "Of course, Cassandra," I said. "I'll bake a pie." I spent the day baking, preparing dishes Michael and Lily loved. By 5, the house filled with vanilla, cinnamon, stew. I even dressed up, in Arthur's favourite blue dress. For once, I felt needed. Cassandra returned around 6, bags overflowing. "Oh, you've done all the cooking," she said, flat. "But I bought deli meals. Everyone loves their canapés." My heart sank, but I smiled. "That's fine." She eyed my dress. "Going to sit at the table like that? Very formal for a casual dinner?" She shook her head. "Anyway, before guests arrive, pop to the basement, check the heater. Doris is always freezing, and Michael wants to show off his wine cellar." The wine cellar was Michael's pride, a damp corner with cheap bottles. He loved parading it. "All right," I agreed, heading for the basement door. The stairs were steep, dimly lit. I descended carefully, gripping the railing, cool and damp. I found the space heater, turned it on. The coil glowed. Suddenly, the door creaked. Cassandra's footsteps. "Eleanor," she called. "Did you find the heater?" "Yes, it's working," I said, climbing. But before I could rise higher, the door slammed shut. The click of a lock echoed. "Cassandra!" I cried, rushing to the door. "Cassandra, the door's slammed!" "I know, Eleanor." Her voice came, devoid of worry, cold, deliberate. "It's just the way it was meant to be." I couldn't believe it. "Open the door, please." "I'm afraid not," Cassandra said, her voice overly patient, like explaining facts to a small child. "Important guests are coming. Frankly, you'd spoil everything. Always interrupting, telling your endless stories. It's tiresome, Eleanor. Numb with shock, humiliation. But it's my birthday," I whispered. Silence. Then her chilling chuckle. "Oh, that's why you're dressed up. The party isn't for you, Eleanor. We just wanted friends. And your birthday is, well, it's not a very important occasion." Tears pricked, but I held them back, not in front of her. "When are you letting me out?" I asked, my voice a broken whisper. "When the guests have left," she answered, her voice fading. "You won't starve. Heater's on. Sit quietly. Don't knock or yell. Music will be loud enough. I told everyone you're at a friend's for the weekend, so no one's looking." Her footsteps died. Silence. I was alone in the semi-dark, with a dim bulb and the orange glow. Rage, resentment, crushing helplessness. How could she? How could Michael allow this? Was I that insignificant? I sank into a dusty armchair. My hands shook. Then, a vibration in my pocket. My cell phone. I'd forgotten it. Michael's old smartphone, given for emergency calls. It wasn't just a phone. It was a connection. A way to find out what was happening above, while I was hidden like unwanted trash. Holding it, a cold calmness settled. That small piece of control allowed me to gather my thoughts. What else were they hiding from me? I wondered, my fingers tracing the smooth glass. What unseen truths lurked in the very air above my head? Have you ever felt that unsettling chill when you realize a loved one isn't who they seem? My old smartphone glowed in the dimness, a tiny window to the betrayal above. It was a relic Michael had passed down, just for emergency calls, he'd said. Yet in that moment of crushing helplessness, it felt like the only power I possessed. Just a month earlier, I'd installed security cameras, not out of paranoia, though many might assume so at my age, but because things had started to disappear. First, my pearl earrings. Arthur's 30th wedding anniversary gift. I knew exactly where I'd left them, in my jewelry box. When I asked Cassandra, her eyes widened innocently. "Eleanor, you probably just forgot. That's normal." Then, Mother's antique brooch vanished, followed by a treasured bottle of perfume. Even the small porcelain ballerina from my bedside table. Each time, Michael and Cassandra had the same dismissive explanation. I forgot. They moved it. It was my own fault. The last straw had been my diary, a thick, leather-bound notebook I'd kept since I was 17. A chronicle of my life, my joys, my fears, pressed flowers tucked between pages. It was my story. One morning, it was gone. I searched everywhere. When I turned to Michael, desperate, he shrugged. "Mum, it's just an old notebook. Maybe you threw it away." I would never throw away my journal. Never. That's when I decided. My old friend, Beatrice, from the gardening club, helped me. Her son owned an electronics store. "Got a smartphone, Eleanor?" she'd asked. "Then you can watch any time." Beatrice, bless her, even helped me install the app, setting the cameras to activate with movement and send notifications. We placed 3, one in my room, one in the living room, and one in the kitchen. I hadn't told my family. Something in my gut said the cameras would accidentally break, just like my things. Now, locked in the cold basement, I thanked fate for my foresight. I opened the app. The screen split into 3 live feeds. The living room was already full, perhaps 15 guests, mostly Cassandra's salon friends, a few of Michael's co-workers. My apple pie sat untouched in the corner of the table, dwarfed by the exquisite canapes Cassandra had bought. I boosted the audio from the living room camera. Music played loudly, but I could make out snippets of conversation when someone neared the lens. "Where's your mother-in-law?" a woman with bright red hair asked. Cassandra rolled her eyes theatrically. "She's at a friend's house, thank DM and God. Honestly, it's a real treat to have an evening without her endless stories about my dear Arthur." The redhead laughed. My cheeks burned. Humiliation seared through me. I shifted to the kitchen feed. Michael was opening a bottle of wine. Doris, our neighbour, a woman my age, approached him. "Michael, where's Eleanor?" "I brought her a small gift." Michael froze. He turned with a strange, forced smile. "She's visiting a friend in Riverside. Mum's been so outgoing lately, you know." He grinned, as if it were a joke. "Oh." Doris looked disappointed. "Strange she left on her birthday, I thought." "Birthday?" Michael interrupted, his face paling. "Oh, right. Yes, we celebrated in advance last weekend. A small family dinner, just how she likes it." Lies. Pure, unadulterated lies. Michael and Cassandra had been at the coast last weekend, leaving me alone with Lily, who mostly spent it at a friend's. Doris nodded, but a flicker in her eyes told me she didn't quite believe it. "Give her this when she gets back," she said, offering a small package. "It's just lavender tea. Eleanor mentioned once she loved it." My eyes welled with tears. A stranger, a neighbour, remembered my preferences, my birthday, better than my own family. I swiped the screen. Lily sat in a corner, buried in her phone, bored. She never liked Cassandra's parties. Too many adults, too many fake smiles. Suddenly, a new guest entered. A tall, lean man with slicked-back dark hair and sharp features. An expensive suit looked subtly out of place. I recognized him. Vincent Price, my financial advisor. Michael had recommended him after Arthur died. Vincent always assured me my investments were in good shape. Now, seeing him here, an uneasy dread began to coil in my stomach. What business did he have at Michael's party? And what unseen connections were about to be revealed, lurking just beneath the surface of this seemingly normal evening? Cassandra greeted Vincent Price with an enthusiasm that felt forced, even for her. She pecked his cheek, a little too loudly, then took his arm, leading him to mingle with guests. But it was the glance they exchanged when they thought no one noticed that froze me. A look too intimate for mere acquaintances, a secret shared. My stomach twisted. I quickly switched the camera feed to the kitchen, where they soon found themselves, standing too close together near the refrigerator. "You're late," Cassandra said, but her voice held no reproach, only a playful edge. "Meeting ran long," Vincent replied, glancing over his shoulder. Where is she? Cassandra grinned, a chilling, triumphant smirk. Oh, don't worry. The old woman's locked in the basement. Thinks it's because of the party. She paused. Then, the words hitting me like a physical blow. She has no idea that her precious son has agreed to send her to Pine Knoll Manor as early as next month. Pine Knoll Manor. The name clicked into place. A nursing home on the outskirts of Fairview. Not a fancy place, certainly not a luxurious one. They were going to send me there. Without my knowledge. Without my consent. A cold dread seeped into my bones. Is everything ready? Vincent asked, his voice low. Paperwork? Power of attorney? Michael will handle it next week, Cassandra said with a wave of her hand. The lawyer's already done the forms. The old woman won't even know what she's signing. We'll say it's just an insurance renewal. She winked. And if she objects? Then plan B. You've seen how absent-minded she is sometimes. Forgets to turn off the stove, locks herself in the bathroom. A sharp, disorienting realization hit me. Those incidents. The stove I never forgot. The bathroom door that had never locked on its own. Were they faked? Had they gone that far? Twisting reality to build a case against me? The very thought sickened me. Are you sure Michael is fully on board? Vincent asked, lowering his voice further. Cassandra scoffed. He's a weakling. Of course he has his doubts. She is his mother, after all. But he wants the house, unencumbered by an old woman. And most of all, he wants the money. Didn't you say there's still a good sum left? Vincent nodded. About $150,000, plus Arthur's monthly pension and insurance. Not a fortune, but enough to pay for Pine Knoll Manor for several years. And still have plenty left over for home improvements. Maybe a new car. A new car. My life savings. Arthur's hard-earned pension. Money we scrimped and saved. Destined for a new car for Cassandra, while I rotted away in some dreary nursing home. Anger, raw and undiluted, surged through me. How dare they? How dare my own son be a part of this monstrous scheme? Their hushed conversation was suddenly interrupted. Lily entered the kitchen, clearly looking for something in the refrigerator. Cassandra and Vincent instantly pulled apart, adopting casual poses. Lily, darling, what are you doing? Cassandra asked, a strange, saccharine smile pasted on her face. Looking for a soda? Lily mumbled, not meeting their eyes. Drinks are in the living room, Cassandra said, her tone sharp. There's only wine and that nasty mineral water, Lily retorted. I want a Coke. Lily, we don't let her have it. Vincent interrupted, his voice suddenly gentle, almost paternal. Isn't that what parties are for? For everyone to get what they want? He winked at my granddaughter, a gesture that sent a fresh chill down my spine. Lily flinched, almost imperceptibly, before grabbing a soda and hurrying out of the kitchen. That brief exchange sent a new wave of unease through me. There was something unsettling in the way Vincent Price looked at Lily, something predatory in his sudden gentleness, far beyond that of a mere financial advisor. It suggested a darker, more complex layer to his involvement, something that made my skin crawl. What else was this man capable of? And was my granddaughter, innocent and unaware, now caught in his chilling orbit too? I switched the camera back to the living room, a sickening dread twisting in my gut as Michael came into view. He was now talking to a co-worker, a heavy-set man in a plaid shirt whose name I couldn't recall. Michael sighed, swirling the drink in his hand. And what about your mother? The co-worker asked. Does she still live with you? For now, yes, Michael grimaced, taking a long sip. But we're thinking about a nursing home. She'd be better off there. Professional care, socialization with her peers. His voice sounded rehearsed, hollow. I watched, my heart sinking further, as Michael's gaze flickered around the room, avoiding eye contact with his colleague. He was reciting lines, words carefully crafted by Cassandra, no doubt. Is she okay with that? The co-worker's brow furrowed. Not really, Michael admitted, his shoulders slumping. But frankly, she doesn't have much choice. Her money is mostly invested in this house, and it's not in her name. Legally, it's our property. Cassandra's already found a nice place with a garden and everything." He seemed to shrink as he spoke. A shadow of the boy I'd raised, my son, my own flesh and blood, was justifying my exile, reducing my life's savings to an investment, and my very existence to a burden. "Doesn't sound cheap," the colleague observed. "Yes, but Mom has a pension and some savings," Michael continued, almost in a rush. "And as Cassandra says, she's done enough for us. It's our turn to decide what's best for her. My turn. After everything I'd given away, after selling the home where Arthur and I had built a life, where every corner reminded me of him. After handing them almost all the money from that sale, leaving myself only a small amount for a rainy day. Outrage overwhelmed me, but a chilling fear coiled beneath it. If they declared me incompetent, as Cassandra had implied, I would lose everything. My rights, my money. They'd control where I lived, what I ate, when I slept. It was a complete erasure. I switched the camera back to the kitchen, where Cassandra was now deep in conversation with a salon friend, a tall blonde with an excessive amount of jewelry. "So, if everything goes according to plan, we'll have the house all to ourselves by the end of the summer," Cassandra declared, filling glasses with wine. Her eyes glittered with malicious glee. "We can finally turn that awful room next to the kitchen into the spa area I've always wanted. My room. The room Michael had promised was for my comfort. Would Eleanor really be okay with a nursing home?" the blonde asked, twirling a strand of hair. She sounded hesitant. "Who cares?" Cassandra snorted, her voice dripping with disdain. At her age, she should be used to the idea of the young making decisions. "Do you know what she did last week? Washed Lily's silk blouse in the washing machine. $600 meal down the drain." The blonde gasped, as if this were the worst crime imaginable. "I told you she wasn't herself," Cassandra continued, lowering her voice conspiratorially. "Last week, Michael found her in the kitchen at 3 a.m. She was supposedly looking for water, but I'm pretty sure she was trying to set the house on fire. That was an outright lie. I'd simply woken up thirsty. Michael hadn't even left his room. I would have heard his footsteps. This was the dark underbelly of their plotting, fabricating incidents to paint me as unstable." "That sounds dangerous," the blonde said, her voice laced with genuine concern. "What if—" Their conversation was cut short as Vincent Price walked into the kitchen. The blonde immediately found an excuse to leave, sensing the shift in atmosphere. "Your husband is becoming a problem," Vincent said without preamble. "I just talked to him about Pine Knoll Manor. He's starting to have doubts, something about his mother deserving a better place." Cassandra rolled her eyes. "He's always like that. First he agrees, then he hesitates. Don't worry, I'll get him in line. There's not much time," Vincent reminded her. "The longer she's here, the greater the risk of her getting suspicious. Especially with the transfers." "Transfers?" A warning bell rang in my mind. Of course they couldn't hear me. "She won't suspect anything," Cassandra sneered. "The old woman barely knows how to use a telephone. She doesn't even know how to check her balance online." That wasn't entirely true. I knew how to use online banking. I just preferred the old ways. Now, trapped, I was grateful for her underestimation. "What about the power of attorney?" Vincent asked. Had she signed it? "Not yet," Cassandra answered. "But Michael promised to get it done next week. He said he'd ask her to update her medical power of attorney because of recent insurance changes. She always signs anything he slips her." I clenched my teeth. Yes, I had trusted my son. Trusted him to handle my finances. Signed documents he brought, rarely reading the fine print. But now I knew. I couldn't trust him, or anyone else in this house. "What if she refuses?" Vincent pressed. "Then it's back to the plan with her absent-mindedness and dangerous behavior," Cassandra said, her voice dropping to a near whisper. "No one's going to believe an old woman who regularly forgets to turn off the gas or tries to leave the house in her nightgown. It could take time, But we have time. The money isn't going anywhere just yet. Cassandra smiled, placing her hand on Vincent's shoulder. You've taken care of it, haven't you? Still under your control? Vincent nodded, but something like worry, a fleeting shadow, crossed his sharp features. Of course I am. I just don't like waiting around when everything could have been ours by now. Ours? Not yours, but ours. What did that mean? Did Vincent have a claim on my money too? And what did he mean, under his control? Shouldn't my savings be in my personal accounts? A chilling realization swept over me, far colder than the basement air. My money, my security, was not just being exploited. It was already gone, manipulated by a professional predator. The pit in my stomach deepened, demanding answers. How deep did this web of deceit truly go? I switched back to the living room camera, watching Michael sway slightly, his face tight. He was talking to Vincent Price. Look, Vincent, Michael slurred, gesturing with his glass. I think we should find a better place than Pine Knoll Manor. My mum deserves better. She always took care of me, gave us almost all the money from the house sale. Vincent placed a calming hand on Michael's shoulder. Of course, my friend, but the best places cost more. A lot more. Your mother's finances, as we discussed, don't allow for such expenses. He continued, smoothly twisting the knife. That $150,000 left. It'll run out fast, especially for a higher-level facility. 2-3 years? Then what? You'd pay extra, out of pocket, and you have a family, a daughter about to go to college? Michael frowned, clearly wrestling with conflicting feelings. I just want her to be happy. She'll be happy, Vincent assured him, a false sincerity in his voice. Pine Knoll is a great place. Garden, weekly activities, nurses around the clock. It's the best you can do under the circumstances. My son nodded, his resistance melting away. I wanted to scream, to shake him, to make him see he was a pawn, that this smooth advisor and his own wife were plundering my life, using him as their tool. But I could only watch, helpless, trapped in my own basement, my heart pounded with fear and rage. They planned to take everything, my money, my freedom, my family. And they were using my own son to do it, manipulating his guilt and ambition. But now, I knew. Knowledge is power, Arthur always said. I wouldn't give up. I wouldn't let them send me to Pine Knoll Manor to rot while they enjoyed my money. I resolutely opened the banking app on my phone. Time to see what Vincent meant by transfers and under his control. For months, Michael had insisted he handle my finances. Don't worry, Mom. I'm in control. Like a trusting fool, I'd agreed. A silly, naive old woman. I typed in Arthur's birthday and the first 3 digits of our old home phone. The app finally opened. I gasped. My main account balance was only $2,384. Where was the $150,000 Vincent and Cassandra spoke of? I scrolled through recent transactions. Regular pension deposits, utility payments, a few small purchases. But there was also a series of monthly transfers, each between $3,000 and $5,000, all labeled Price Investment Group. I never authorized these, never signed a form for any Price Investment Group. This was it. This was Vincent's control. With trembling fingers, I opened my email. It was a digital mess of spam, but hidden within, I found monthly reports from the Price Investment Group. The latest report, from last month, was filled with financial jargon. Yet at the end, I saw it. A copy of my signed authorization to transfer funds. It wasn't my signature. Someone had forged it, and rather poorly. My hand had always been rounded, from years of teaching calligraphy. This was angular, stiff, furious. I found more such reports, all with forged signatures. Then, a discovery that made my stomach churn. Correspondence between Vincent and Michael. Emails labeled forwarded. Michael had used my address to communicate about my finances. One read, Michael, Per our conversation, I've transferred another $4,000 from your mother's retirement fund to the investment fund. As usual, 10% will remain in your personal account as a management fee. The attached form needs to be signed and returned. $400. Michael was getting $400 every month for letting Vincent plunder my savings. Nausea swelled. I put the phone down, deeply inhaling to fight the wave of dizziness. When I calmed, I went back to the emails. The financial abuse was just the tip of a shocking iceberg. What other hidden betrayals lay waiting to be exposed, beyond the money and the forced exile? What deeper family secrets had been buried under years of lies? In my junk mail folder, buried under digital debris, I found a series of emails labeled as spam. My heart seized. The sender's address: Tara Joyce, westcoast.com. Tara, my daughter. I hadn't seen or spoken to Tara in almost 7 years. Our last meeting had ended in a terrible fight. She'd stormed out, slamming the door, vowing never to return. The reason? Her marriage to Silas, a musician I deemed completely unsuitable. Michael had painted him as a perpetually broke drifter, claiming Tara supported him while he toured with a third-rate band. I believed it. During that last, furious encounter, I'd echoed Michael's warnings, condemning Tara's choices. She'd screamed back, accusing me of control, of never truly knowing her husband, of letting Michael poison my mind. "You judge him on Michael's words," she'd yelled. Michael, who was always jealous of me. I'd dismissed her, confident in Michael's practical judgment. After Tara left, I tried to reach her. Calls unanswered, an apology email, no reply. I slowly accepted she was lost to me. But now, this long list of spam emails. Tara had been trying to contact me all this time. I opened the oldest one, dated almost 6.5 years ago, just months after our fight. "Dear Mother," I thought, long before writing. Pride told me to be silent, but my heart won't let me. "I miss you. Despite our differences, you are my mother, and I love you. I know you're worried about my future with Silas. Michael has said unflattering things. But Mother, your son never bothered to truly know my husband. Silas is not who Michael described. He teaches music at the Riverside School of the Arts, has a permanent contract and health insurance. His third-rate band is actually quite successful in its genre, plays festivals, released 2 albums. I'm not asking you to love him immediately. Just give him a chance. Come for dinner? Get to know him yourself, without Michael's preconceptions. As for money, I'm not supporting Silas. We both work, contribute equally. He earned more than me last year from music royalties. Please, Mum, let's make this right. Life's too short for such long grudges. Love, Tara." Tears streamed down my face. All these years, I'd believed she'd cut me off, when she'd been extending an olive branch I couldn't see. I opened the next, a month later. "Mum, I don't know if you received my last letter. I've called, but Cassandra always says you're busy or on vacation. Maybe you're still angry, but I want you to know, when you're ready, I'll be here. Silas says hi. He never held what happened against you. Says he understands your concern. Love, Tara." Cassandra, of course. She was intercepting the calls, filtering the emails, doing all this while I grieved the loss of my child. Each subsequent email was a fresh stab to the heart. Tara wrote about her life, her work, Silas, how much she missed me, how she wanted me in her life. 4 years ago, she mentioned a baby, my grandson. I didn't even know he existed. The ultrasound showed a boy. We're naming him Arthur Jr. after Daddy. I wish you were here, Mum. My breath caught. Arthur Jr., a grandson named after my Arthur, growing up without knowing his grandmother. The pain was unbearable. The last letter, 3 months ago. "Dear Mum, little Arthur Jr. turned 3 today. He's so smart, inquisitive. He has your eyes, Mama, just as blue and piercing. Your smile. I show him pictures. Tell him about you. He knows he has a Grandma Eleanor who lives in Fairview. Sometimes he asks when we'll visit. I don't know what to say. I realize you probably don't read these. Maybe you changed your email. But I keep writing because I can't bear the thought it's over. Since Dad died, I think about how quickly time passes. We can't get back the last years, Mum, but we can decide not to lose anymore. I work as an inspector for county social services, specializing in elder cases. Every day I see how important family ties are, especially for older adults. And every day I think about you. Michael rarely answers my questions. He says you're fine, but don't want to talk. Maybe it's true. But if you ever change your mind, know this. My door is always open. Love, Tara. P.S. New address and phone number enclosed. We moved to a bigger house last year. I wrote the phone number with trembling hands. Tara had been trying to reach me all these years. We lost so much time to lies, to Michael and Cassandra's manipulations. And Tara worked for social services, specializing in elder cases. The bitter irony. My own daughter protected the elderly from people like Cassandra and Vincent, while her own mother was falling victim to their schemes. The puzzle pieces clicked into place, revealing a design more sinister than I could have imagined. What was a larger part of this scheme? The stolen money, the fake incidents, or this cruel 7-year silence between a mother and daughter? Have you ever had a moment where years of misunderstanding suddenly snap into agonizing focus? The bitter irony slammed into me, a cold, hard fist to the gut. My own daughter, Tara, was an inspector for county social services, specializing in elder protection, fighting for people like me every DMN day. Yet, I had been falling victim to the very scheme she fought against, right under her nose. Thanks to Michael and Cassandra's elaborate lies, I returned to the banking app, determined to uncover every piece of this ugly puzzle. Beyond the Price Investment Group transfers, I found other suspicious transactions. Monthly payments of $800 to a company listed as CPC Consulting. I suspected it stood for Cassandra Price Consulting, a shell entity designed to siphon my funds. Then, checks made out for various sums, cashed by Michael. Transaction comments claimed they were for my medication, special food, and medical care. Lies. I took no such medication, ate no special food, received no unique care. The more I scrolled, the clearer the horrifying picture became. In the 3 years since Arthur died, over $120,000 had been drained from my accounts. The money had bled out slowly, steadily, like water through invisible cracks in a dam. If Cassandra hadn't locked me down here, given me this forgotten phone, I might never have known. The disappearing trinkets, the intercepted emails, the financial pilfering, the plans for Pine Knoll Manor, it all clicked into a single, sinister plot to discard me and embezzle my money. One piece still bothered me. Michael's involvement. His share of the transfers seemed small for such a betrayal. A few $100s a month? The answer lay hidden in my email drafts. A draft from Vincent to Michael. Michael, as discussed, once her guardianship is finalized, we can sell the house. With Fairview's market, expect about $800,000 after the mortgage and Eleanor's 5 years at Pine Knoll. That leaves you about $400,000 net profit. My commission, 20%, is $80,000. The remaining $320,000 will be yours. All perfectly legal, of course. Awaiting confirmation. Vincent, that was it. The petty thefts were merely a prelude. The real target was my house, the house I'd bought, with the money from the home Arthur and I had shared for decades. A home now worth almost double its value, $320,000. That was the price my son had placed on his mother's freedom. I put the phone down, closing my eyes, waves of anger, pain, and betrayal washing over me. How could he, my own son, the child I carried, whose scraped knees I kissed? But anger quickly morphed into cold determination. I wouldn't let them win. I wouldn't be a helpless victim. I had proof. I had the phone. And now I had a daughter who worked in social services, specializing in cases exactly like mine. I picked up the phone again, my trembling fingers finding Tara's number from her last letter. What would I say after 7 years of silence? Would she believe me? Or think I was just a senile old woman concocting conspiracies? I had no choice. Taking a deep breath, I pressed the call button. 1 ring, 2, 3. Maybe she'd changed her number. On the 5th ring, just as I prepared for voicemail, a click. Then, a weary voice I hadn't heard in 7 long years. "Hello?" Tara said, not recognizing the number. "Tara." My voice trembled. "It's Mom." A profound silence. Then, a ragged sigh. "Mom?" Her voice was a mixture of disbelief, hope, and fear. "Is it really you?" "Yes, dear," I said, unable to hold back the tears now. "It's me, and I need your help. I just found your letters, all your letters. They were sent to spam. I never saw them until today. It's much worse than you can imagine." I told her everything. The disappearing items, the cameras, Michael and Cassandra's overheard plots, the financial fraud, the nursing home plans, the basement door locked tight. Tara listened, quiet, only small gasps escaping her lips. When I finished, a long pause hung in the air. "Mom," she finally said, her voice firm, professional. "What you're describing is a classic case of elder financial abuse, and then there's the psychological abuse and unlawful restraint. It's a crime, and we can hold them accountable." "You believe me?" I asked, still afraid. "Of course I believe you, Mom," Tara answered, without hesitation. "In my job, I see cases like this almost weekly. Unfortunately, it's often close relatives who become the abusers. And what you're describing is too detailed, too consistent for fiction. Besides," her voice softened, "deep down, I always knew you wouldn't have just cut me off. Your voice is important. And now, it's finally going to be heard." How would this sudden truth, exposed by a captive witness, shatter their carefully constructed world? Soon, this would all be over? Soon, justice would be served. Talitha's message. "Police on their way. I'm 10 minutes away." Fired raw courage through me. Lucy planned to keep me locked down, make me think about my behavior. The audacity of it, treating me like a child, fueled my rage. Suddenly, the basement door creaked open. Josine. Her face, framed by a messy bun, appeared in the dim light. "Grandma?" she whispered, fear and defiance in her eyes. "They're all in the living room. Now would be a good time." My mind raced. Talitha's plan, wait for police. But Josine's plea for action ignited a different path. Wouldn't facing them, watching their lies crumble, be more powerful? What if Lucy charmed the police, convinced them I was just confused? No. Silent suffering was over. Time for a reckoning. "You're right," I said, voice steady. "It's time." Josine helped me up the steep stairs, her small hand firm. My heart hammered, a drumbeat of fear and fierce resolve. I would not be silenced. We emerged into the kitchen, party sounds closer. Lucy's boastful voice floated from the living room. "Ready?" Josine whispered. I nodded, squared my shoulders, and walked, head held high, into the chaotic light. Josine, a small, unwavering shadow, followed. Silence fell. Lucy froze, wineglass mid-air, eyes wide with shock. Jonathan straightened, face pale. Drake flinched, then regained composure. "Mom?" Jonathan broke the silence, a bewildered whisper. "What? I thought you were in the basement." "I was," I answered, calm. "Your wife locked me in there over 3 hours ago, on my birthday." Lucy, recovering swiftly, gave a brittle laugh. "Burville, don't be absurd. Nobody locked you in. You must have locked yourself in, then forgotten. Happens at your age." She whirled on Josine, eyes narrowed. "What are you doing? I told you to go to bed." "I couldn't leave my grandmother in the cellar," Josine replied, voice steel. "What you did was awful, Mother." "Josine!" Lucy exploded, face contorted. "Go to your room at once." "No," Josine said, arms crossed, defiant. "I'm staying with Grandma." Lucy rose, eyes flashing. "You don't know what you're talking about. Your grandmother is out of her mind. She's confusing reality. We were just... No more lies, Lucy, I interrupted, pulling out my phone. The screen glowed, showing the kitchen feed, Lucy and Drake's hushed plot. The game is over, and I have proof. What the DMN was that? Lucy shrieked. Were you spying on us? Put cameras in our house? My house, I corrected, gaze piercing. The house I bought with my money. Yes, I installed cameras after my things disappeared. Did you think I wouldn't notice? Drake spoke, calm. Burville, you've got it all wrong. We discussed a facility purely for your health. Finances? All legal. With your consent. My consent? I laughed bitterly. You mean those forged signatures? I showed a screenshot. That's not my signature, Drake, and we both know it. His confidence wavered. Jonathan signed on your behalf, with your verbal consent. He insisted, strained. Standard practice. Liar, I said, chillingly calm. I never gave such consent. Jonathan knows it. I turned to my son, face chalk white. Tell me, son, did you really think I wouldn't find out? That I'd let you send me to Pine Hills, sell my house, and embezzle my money? Jonathan hung his head. I thought it was best for everyone. He mumbled. You need supervision, and Lucy and I can't. Don't lie. I cut him off. You weren't thinking about me. You were thinking about money. The $320,000 from selling the house. The boat you wanted to buy with my money. Josine gasped, shocked. Dad, is it true? Jonathan didn't answer. Shoulders slumped. Lucy wouldn't yield. It's all lies, she spat, voice less confident. You can't prove anything. These recordings can be faked. Who'd believe a senile old woman against 3 respectable adults? I will. Talitha's voice, firm and clear, came from the front door. She stood there, next to a uniformed police officer and Adam Lawrence, the lawyer. Talitha? Jonathan gasped. Saving our mother from the 3 of you, she answered coldly. Then to me, a warm smile. Mom, are you okay? I nodded, tears stinging. I am now. Lucy quickly faked a smile. Talitha, what a pleasant surprise. We didn't expect to see you. I'm sure you didn't, Talitha replied dryly. Especially since you've been intercepting my letters and calls. To the officer. Officer Ramirez, this is my mother, Burville Holloway. She was illegally locked in the basement. There's documented financial fraud. The officer nodded. Mrs. Holloway, do you wish to press charges? Yes, I said firmly. I do. Lucy's face contorted with rage. This is ridiculous. You can't just barge into our house and... It's not your house, Adam Lawrence interrupted. Purchased with Mrs. Holloway's money. Given fraud evidence, ownership may be challenged. He pulled documents. Temporary restraining order, prohibiting anyone but Mrs. Holloway from accessing her finances. Order to preserve all documents. Any alteration is obstruction of justice. Drake paled. You can't do that. This investment was with full consent. Consent obtained by fraud, Mr. Campbellworth. Adam cut him off. Or forged signatures. A serious violation. The Securities and Exchange Commission will be very interested. Drake's face turned greenish. Officer Ramirez stepped forward. Mr. Campbellworth, questions about financial fraud and elder abuse. You have the right to remain silent. As the officer read his rights, I watched Lucy and Jonathan. Lucy's world crumbled. Jonathan looked devastated, head bowed. How could you, Papa? Josine asked quietly. How could you do that to Grandma? Jonathan looked up, eyes brimming. I didn't realize it would go this far. Lucy said Mom would be happier in an institution, needing professional care. Don't you dare put this on me, Lucy shrieked. You knew what was going on. You signed, you took the money, you agreed to sell the house. Because you gave me no choice. Jonathan yelled back. You said if we didn't, we'd lose the house, couldn't pay for Josine's college. That's enough, Lucy screamed. Don't blame me. You were happy to spend your mother's money on a new car, planning to buy a boat. They bickered, years of resentment erupting. But I stopped listening. Talitha took my hand. Let's go, Mom. she said softly. You don't need to listen anymore. I'm taking you home. Home? I asked, disoriented. To me? Talitha clarified, her smile gentle. To Rufus and me, and little Winthrop. He's so looking forward to seeing you. My heart swelled. Does he really know about me? Of course. Talitha smiled. I told him about you every day. Showed pictures. He calls you Grandma Burvey and asks when you're coming. Tears streamed, pure hope. I had a family. A real family that loved me. Josine came, worried. What about me? Can I visit my grandmother too? Talitha smiled, arm around her. Of course, sweetheart. You are always welcome. Your cousin will be happy to meet you. Josine offered a weak smile. What will happen to Mommy and Daddy now? Talitha sighed. Depends on the court, their cooperation. But you won't be alone. We'll help you through this. Officer Ramirez led Drake away. Lucy and Jonathan argued, voices loud, angry. Let's get out of here, Talitha suggested. You need your rest. I nodded, suddenly tired. This day, begun with bitter betrayal, ended with hope. My eyes met Jonathan's for a moment. Shame, remorse, the dawning realization of losing something far more precious than money. His mother's trust and love. Come on, Mom, Talitha repeated. I let her lead me from a house that had never truly been mine, toward a new life with a family that truly loved me. 2 months later, I sat on Talitha's veranda, watching little Winther play. He was Winther, my Winther, reborn. Same blue eyes, same smile. Beside me, Rufus, kind, thoughtful. A respected music teacher. Nothing like Jonathan's lies. His talent, truly appreciated. Talitha brought tea. How are you feeling, Mum? Better? I answered. Better every day. First weeks were hard. Nightmares, anxiety. But Talitha, Rufus, and little Winther surrounded me with care. I finally felt at home. The legal process moved. Drake arrested for financial fraud, a serial abuser. Lucy charged as accessory to fraud and elder abuse. Jonathan faced less serious charges, cooperating and pleading guilty, his shame lingering. Adam Lawrence recovered significant money. The Pomona house trial ongoing, prospects good. Josine lived with us now, temporarily. After Lucy's arrest and Jonathan's divorce filing, Talitha's home was best. Josine adjusted. Sometimes I'd hear her cry. I'd sit with her, reminding her she wasn't to blame. Talitha helped restore my financial independence, new accounts accessible only to me. She helped me draft a new will and a real power of attorney, my authentic signature, ensuring my voice would always be heard. Another letter from Jonathan, Talitha said. Want to read it? I hesitated. He wrote weekly, remorseful letters, explaining Lucy's manipulation, his fear for Josine's future. He asked forgiveness, but didn't insist. Yes, I said. Talitha stepped back. I read his familiar handwriting. I don't know if I can ever fully forgive him, or rebuild our poisoned relationship. But one thing I knew, I would no longer let fear and doubt run my life. I would no longer be a silent victim. At 67, I was beginning a new, unexpected chapter. With the daughter I'd gotten back, the grandson I was beginning to know, the granddaughter I was protecting. It wasn't the quiet autumn of life I'd envisioned, but perhaps it was exactly what I needed. As I watched little Winther play, Talitha holding Rufus, Josine smiling more freely, I realized true wealth wasn't in bank accounts or houses. It was in these moments, these connections, this love that no one could ever steal. This journey taught me that even in the darkest betrayals, our spirit can find its light, and true family will always rise to meet us. Have you ever discovered strength in yourself you didn't know you possessed, until everything was on the line? Share your stories below, because your voice truly matters. And don't forget to subscribe for more tales of resilience.